School Tuesday morning for kids across Canada, and that means a lot of parents may be wondering how to make that first day back memorable in a happy way. Kathy Buckworth is parenting expert with Simpatico.ca. Great to see you, Kathy.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
Let me ask you, what are the do's and don'ts in order to make that, first day of school set off on the right foot?
Yeah, it can be a stressful time for parents and for kids, and funnily enough for kids, the stress is less around the actual school part of back to school, but more around the social side. You know, who's going to be their teacher? Is their best friend going to be in their class? What's lunchtime going to be like? You know, who are the bus patrollers? Am I wearing the right clothes? You know, there's stressors like that the kids are actually going to have to go through for themselves. But what parents can do to make that easier is, not talk about if you don't like the teacher, please don't let your child know on the first day, and don't get them too overly worked up of what they're wearing. It is, it's still summer for a lot of kids going back, summer weather right now. And try to keep this stuff at home routine, so that part of it is a little less stressful for them. So stay on top of the paperwork right from the start and the homework that's expected of them. Set up a homework area at home. Check when the PD days are, because I know my kids have 2 in September already, so arranging that in advance is really important. So if you can keep some of the stressors out of the things you can control, that might help the rest of it go a bit more smoothly. One of the main stressors for kids is actually being late, and a lot of times it's down to the parent to get them there on time. So if you're the parent, get your child to the bus on time or to the class on time so that they're not walking in late and feeling very socially awkward about that as well.
Sleep and diet.
Yeah, that's really important. Make sure you're setting routines and start with a bedtime routine. It's been a long, lovely summer, but you've got to get them back to those routines as soon as possible. Get them to bed at a reasonable time. They're going to be excited tonight, but keep them in bed, get them to read a book and wake them up on time tomorrow. Again, don't let them sleep in just so that, they haven't had enough sleep yet. And make sure that you're packing, maybe helping them pack their lunches for the first few days. But, kids over the age of 8 can really start taking care of that themselves too and managing that themselves and knowing what's good for them. Stick to meal plans at dinner. Some common sense things that, if we keep those straight for the kids, hopefully the rest will balance itself out.
So what do you do if you have a child who just hates school and this is, this is an opportunity to see their friends again?
Yes.
And that's all.
Yeah, and then, that's funny. That's what my kids were talking about when I left this evening. That's what they were talking about mostly, was looking forward to seeing their friends. That's okay. You know what? When they're in the school, you're never going to convince them that math is fun if they really just don't like math. But, again, it's establishing the routines, making sure that you're giving them support if they are challenged on subjects, and staying on top of it from the beginning, not so they're running behind when it comes to Christmas time and you realize that they're really struggling in subjects. And nothing breeds success like success, as we know. So making sure they do well at the beginning. One more thing I wanted to add is a lot of parents this year are sending their kids into school with phones. And I find this an interesting thing in the parenting world simply because myself, I didn't go to school with a cell phone. And so we're trying to parent our kids the proper way to take those into the classroom when we weren't taught it ourselves. So something to keep in mind there. There's a survey out, President's Choice Services had a survey out last week that said that 48% of kids 11 and older have cell phones. So that's a lot of kids going off to school with cell phones for the first time. So some basic etiquette and safety rules around phones are also a good thing before they head off on the bus tomorrow.
Boy, that's a good idea. I remember back when my math class, grade 10, and I had a Texas Instrument calculator that was about the size of this keyboard.
Exactly.
Now, of course,
they have these almost mini computers in their hands with the phone. So when they're younger, teaching them what the emergency contact numbers are and where they can be found on their phone, talking to them about, password protecting their phone and how to use it, not giving them access when they're very young to the internet off of their cell phone. A basic, calling, texting phone will do. And then when they're older, when they're in high school, reinforcing some of the etiquette rules around smartphones in the classroom and what they're allowed to do and not to do in the classroom.
Kathy, all great advice, and we'll check back with you as we get into the school year and fine-tune some of these tips.
Thanks.
Kathy Buckworth, parenting expert with Simpatico.ca. Always a pleasure to see you, Kathy.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.